Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is Mr. Wagner here whenever you're watching this video, and we are back with another YouTube video. All right, so first thing that I want you guys to do for today is to get your math notebooks out. Okay, that's the first thing I want you to do is to get your math notebook out. So during this video, if I move too fast at any point, if I'm talking too quickly or I'm moving too quickly, please feel free to stop, rewind, pause, do whatever that you need to do to work at your pace, okay? Mr. Logan and I are going to be back tomorrow, so we'll be back tomorrow to give you a hand with some of this stuff, but I'm going to see how we can do today on our own by at least getting through the lesson and taking the notes and things, and then hopefully being able to get some GMM points. All right, so again, get your math notebook out, and at the top of your math notebook, chapter and lesson is right there. I will tell you throughout the lesson what you need to copy down, what you don't need to copy down. So just, tune in, pay attention, and make sure you get all your notes added, okay? So chapter 1, lesson 8, part B is what I need at the top of your math notebook. All right, so let's get that on the top. So chapter 1, lesson 8, part B, here we go. Now today, we're still talking about slope. This is on your cheat sheet, okay? But it's called slope of a graph or of a line, okay? So we're dealing with graphs today. We're not dealing with coordinate points. We're dealing with graphs. And there's no formula that we have to put the numbers into in order to solve the slope like there was for the coordinate point one, okay? In this one, you are literally going to be counting the boxes or counting the grids in the graph, okay? And you're going to be counting how many blocks do you go up versus how many blocks you go over, okay? So this type of slope, if you're looking at that cheat sheet, if you have it, is at the bottom, and it's in the bottom right corner, and it's called M equals rise over run, okay? So rise over run refers to how far up or down you go versus how far side to side you go. So the next thing that I need you to add to your notes is this right here. Slope equals rise over run, okay? So I want you to add that rise over run to your notes, okay? So slope is rise over run, how far up and down versus how far side to side, okay? So we go up and down first, then we go left to right second. So I do want you to copy some other things in your notes because depending on what direction we're moving on the graph will depend if our numbers are positive or negative or what have you. So if we move up on our graph, those are positive numbers. If we move down, those are negative numbers. If we move to the right on our graph, those are positive. And if we move to the left, those are negative. So I want you to add those to your notes, okay, in your notebook under chapter 1, lesson 8, part B. I want you to add up is positive, down is positive, right is positive, left is negative, along with the kind of method to the madness today, which is that slope is equal to rise over run, okay? So what you're going to do to find the slope, and a lot of students find this confusing, but I really don't think that it is too bad. But what you are going to do to find the slope is you are going to basically find points on the line that cross through the bottom corner of the grids or the boxes. So if you can trace this blue line, you see this blue line here, okay, on the graph, right here, this blue one that I just now traced in black, okay, if you take a look at that blue line, there are 3 spots on that line where the line intersects exactly the corner of the graph or the corner of the boxes, okay? There are 3 points. And so all we're doing to find slope when we're dealing with graphs is we're counting how far up or down do we go versus how far left to right do we go. Well, in this case, you can see the blue arrow says the word rise. So you count rise first, then run, and you're basically playing connect the dots. Okay, you're connecting the points that intersect the corner of the boxes. So if I count rise, I go up 1, 2, 3. See how I didn't count the original spot? You count as you go up. 1, 2, 3. So I went up 3. That is a positive 3. And I went over, again, 1, 2. So I go over 2. So my slope, my m, is equal to 3 over 2. I'll show you that again. Rise over run. You're going from one corner right here on the line to the other corner, okay? So I'm going to go up. If you want to count the jumps, it might be easier so you don't accidentally count something twice. So 1, 2, 3, and up is a positive. So we go up 3, and we run 1, 2 to get to that next dot, all right? So that is my slope, rise over run. I am connecting the dots from where the lines, or where the line, I should say, line singular, crosses through the corner of the grids, or the corner of the boxes, okay? So let's say I start at the second dot and I go to the third dot. Would it make any difference? Well, let's see. From the second dot to the third dot, I count rise over run. So I go 1, 2, 3, and I went up 3, so that's a positive 3. And I went 1, 2 to the right, which is a positive 2. And so it is the same exact slope, 3 over 2. All right. All right. So I'm going to erase this. But again, for slope of a graph, we are doing rise over run. We are counting how many blocks up, or how many boxes up we have to go, then how many boxes over until we touch the next point on the line, okay? And how do I find those points again? Well, I find those points because I look for places that the line intersects the corner of the box, okay? There's 3 points on that line. So let's jump down to this one, okay? And again, hopefully you have that copied in, up positive, down negative, right positive, left negative. But let's jump to this next one we're going to look at here. So again, this is kind of the same thing as the last slide, but here we see this rate of change word. Today in GMM, if you see rate of change, that is the same thing as the slope, okay? There is no difference between rate of change and slope. All right, there's no difference at all. So if you can see this graph, there's a point here that goes through the corner of a box, there's a point here that goes through a corner box, and a point there that goes through the corner of the box. And again, the blue and red lines are describing our rise over run. And on this slide, you do not need to copy anything down, except for I want you to copy that slope is the rate of change, okay, because rate of change and slope are the same. So I do want you to copy that right there into your notes that I just highlighted, okay? But as far as explaining this problem, I just want you to focus in and listen to my words here. So there are 3 spots on that line that go through the corner of the grids, okay, the corner of the boxes, the exact corner. I mean, it has to go right through it, all right? So I'm just going to count from one point to the next how far I go up versus how far I go over. And you can see the blue line and the red line. In this case, you go up 1, 2, and you go over 1. I'll show you that again. You go up, if I can get back to my pen here, there we go. You go up 1, 2, and you go to the right 1. Well, up is positive, there's my positive 2, and right is positive, there's my positive 1. So my slope is 2 over 1. What about from the next point to the top point? So the second to the third. We should get the same thing if we're counting our rise over run correctly. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, and I'm going to go over 1. So 2 over 1, again, is what I get. Positive 2, up 2, positive 1, right 1. Okay, remember, positive is up, positive is right. Okay, negative is down, and negative is left. All right. All right, let's move on to a real example like GMM is going to show you. So this is something similar to GMM. All right. Now, my advice to you is to start at the bottom of the line. So my advice to you when you're doing these problems in GMM is to start down here and to trace that line to up here and just mark the points on that line that intersect the corner of the boxes. Okay, so I'm going to do that now in blue. There's a corner, 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 and there is a corner. Okay, so there are multiple points on this line. You only need 2 of them because you're going to go from one point to the other. But for me, I always like either starting at the bottom that is highlighted in yellow, or I like starting at the origin and tracing that line up through and marking where those corners are. Okay, that is me personally. All right, so now I'm going to count my slope. Okay, so let me get back to the pen here. So slope equals rise over run. Okay, that's what slope equals. Slope equals rise over run. So how many spots do I rise from one dot to the next? Like I said, you're kind of playing connect the dots. So how many do I rise? Well, I rise 1. If I'm starting at this box, I rise 1, 2. So that it was up. So that's a positive 2. And I run 1. So that is a positive 1. So what I got right now is that my slope is equal to 2 over 1, which is equal to 2. So let's double check that. Let's go from a different set of points, and let's just see if we get the same thing. So here's a point that goes to the bottom corner of a box. Here's a point that goes to the bottom corner of the box. Now I'm working in red. How many do I go up? 1, 2. That's a positive 2. How many do I go over? 1. That is a positive 1. So my slope is 2 over 1. I could have went from the ones in green, from this point right here to this point right here. Okay, so I go up 1, 2. That's a positive 2. And I go to the right 1 to land on that next point. And there it is, a slope of 2 over 1. All right, so that's all we're doing, guys, is we are tracing that line, and we are marking the spots that cross through the bottom corner of a box, and then we're just counting from one point to the next. All right? Okay. So I did not expect you to copy down all of these graphs. So a lot of today's is going to be just listening to the video, pausing it if you need to, rewinding it if you need to, and just hearing my words on this. Okay? So let's take a look at this line, all right? And I'm going to erase this stuff that was back here. So let's take a look at this line, all right? So again, if I were you, I would trace from one end of the line to the other end of the line and find those points that go through the bottom corner of the box. So right there is one. Now I don't see another one till right there. See how this one right here is close, but it's not exactly through the corner. Okay, it's got to go exactly through the corner of the grid or exactly through the corner of the boxes. So I'm going to keep tracing. That one's close, but not quite. So I'm going to jump down to this one here. So I see 3 of them on this line. Okay, so we're just going to start at one and end at the very next one. Okay, so again, my slope is rise over run. So how many do I rise? 1, 2. So I rose 2. I went up, that's a positive. How many do I run? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow, I ran 5. Did I run to the right or did I run to the left? Well, I'm running this direction. Okay, again, I'm running this direction. So I'm running to the left. Well, look back at your original notes. what type of numbers go to the left? Negative numbers. So that would be 2 over negative 5. Huh. Does that make sense? Well, let's check it. We can check it again. So let's go from this point in green to this point in green. Let's just double check it here. So I go up 1, 2. So I go up. Slope is up 2. That's a positive 2. We know that. Okay. And then I'm going to run. I'm going to start here, and I'm going to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I went to the left, so that is a negative 5. All right. So it looks like my slope is 2 over negative 5 for that one. Okay. So again, guys, I'm finding the corner of the grid or the corner of the graph where the line goes right through the corner of the boxes. And then I am counting from one spot to the other. Okay. So in GMM, you're going to have to find the spots on the line that cross the corner of the boxes. And then you're going to have to count them. So let's go back to where I was last time. Okay. Let's go back to our last slide real quick. So in GMM today, you're going to get asked about different types of slope. Well, if a slope is positive slope, the x values will increase and the y values will increase. Okay, so the x values will be increasing and the y values will be increasing. We'll take a look at this line. My x value starts at -2, right about here, right? And it ends around +3, right about here, at +3. Well, are my x values going up? Yes, they are. Let's talk about the y values, okay? So the y values, I start at -5, I end at +5. Are the y values going up? Well, yes, they are. So any line that sort of starts in the bottom left-hand corner and goes towards the top right is what's called positive slope. And you'll have a couple of these questions on GMM today. This line would have a positive slope. This dotted line would have a positive slope. Okay, this red line would have a positive slope. All right, this blue line would have a positive slope. Barely, but it's positive. This dotted pink line would have a positive slope. This dotted green line would have a positive slope. Hopefully you're getting the gist or the idea by now. If it starts in the bottom left, okay, down here where I'm spinning the green, and it goes up towards the top, if the x values and the y values are increasing, that is what's called positive slope. Okay. Negative slope is kind of like this one here. Okay, so negative slope is kind of like this one. See how my x values started at -5 and they went to +5. So my x values are increasing. But my y values started at 4 and ended at 0. My y values are going down. They are decreasing. So that is negative slope. So negative slope is when you start in this top right corner and you sort of dive down, like the lines that I'm drawing now. Okay, these are all examples of negative slope. Okay, all of these examples that I'm putting on here are negative slope. All right, pink line, negative slope, negative slope, negative slope, negative slope. Okay? So you will have to identify on GMM positive slope and negative slope, okay? Which is which, all right? All right, I just have a few more things, guys. Hang in there. You're doing such a great job. I appreciate it. So we have a straight vertical line. This is our last two tests. So we want to know what kind of slope this is. Well, slope is rise over run, all right? So if I start here at the bottom like I normally do, that goes through the corner, that goes through a corner, all of them go through corners. Okay, all of them go through corners. Every single point touches the corner of a box. So for me to count this slope, I'm going to rise 1, but I'm going to run I'm not going to run at all. I'm right on the dot already. Okay, again in green, from here to here. I'm going to rise 1, which is a positive 1, but I'm not going to run any because I'm already on that point. So we have a phrase for this vertical line, and that is that a vertical line, okay, and a line that is straight up and down, okay, this line, all right, this line, the slope of a vertical line when 0 is in that denominator is called a vocabulary term undefined. Okay? So I want you to add this to your notes. A vertical line is undefined. Okay? So vertical line, the slope is undefined. Because I'm going to rise 1, but I'm going to run none. And when my denominator is 0, that is undefined. Okay, that is undefined. All right. The last one I'm going to show you today is a horizontal line. I want you to add this to your notes. Horizontal, T-A-L, line. Slope is always 0. Okay, and why? Well, let's check. Rise over run. So find the spots on this line that go through corner of a box. There, there, there. Again, it's all of them. Okay, it's all of them. All of them. Well, to get from one to the other, so let's do the blue ones. To get from one to the other, how many spots do I have to rise? Oh, I don't have to rise any, you're right. So my rise, my slope equals 0 over, how many do I run? Well, I run 1. Try it again in red. Let's start here, for example, and go to this one. How many do I rise? Well, I rise, in this case, I rise 0, and I run 1. 0 divided by any number is 0. Okay? So we have some questions in GMM that will say what type of slope is shown, positive or negative. Okay, so there's positive slope. Again, all these lines would be positive slope. Okay, positive, positive, positive. Then some will ask you about negative slope. What about negative, negative, negative? Okay, negative, negative, negative slope. What is the slope of a vertical line, they might ask you. Okay, or they might show you a vertical line, say what's its slope. Well, the slope for it, vertical line, is undefined. And finally, they might ask you about a horizontal line. The slope of a horizontal line side to side is 0. Okay? Again, if you have to find the actual slope or the rate of change, okay, if you have to find the actual slope or you have to find the rate of change, then you need to find the corners that cross through, okay, the spots that cross through the corner of a box. You need to find those spots, and you need to count how many up and how many over. You need to count the rise, over, run. All right, guys, I know it was a long video, okay, but I want you guys to jump into GMM, and I want you to try to just get 5 points for today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want you to get 5 points for today, okay? I want you to try your best to do so. Don't be afraid to kind of whisper, talk quietly, and help each other out a little bit. If somebody's really understanding how to do this, I don't mind if you help a little bit, okay? But make sure that you ask the teacher if that is okay. All right? 5 points for today, guys. Good luck, and I will see you tomorrow.